We're moving into the youth panel now, and the youth panel is sponsored by RBC, the Royal Bank of Canada, and we have a representative, Quinn Docherty from the Royal Bank, to say a few words to start the panel off. So Quinn, can I invite you up?
Krista Moffat and I are also here as representative of RBC, and we're proud allies of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. Today we gather at UVic for the Moving Trans History Forward conference that considers the history of trans people and the crucial issues which impact them today and in the future. The panel today features trans youth speaking about their experiences and provides an opportunity for us all to better understand the experiences, lives of friends and colleagues and loved ones through the stories that they are told. I want to say a sincere thank you to the Chair of the Transgender Studies, thank you for trusting us with the privilege of being your partner in this. This is a very meaningful partnership to a lot of our RBC employees. Together we can ensure young people in BC thrive and that the 2S LGBTQIA+ community culture continue to flourish. Thank you again, and enjoy the panel.
Thank you, Quinn, and thank you to RBC for sponsoring this panel, sponsoring the Elders panel, and for helping with support for people to be able to attend. So, the youth panel is organized by our partners from Calgary, Skipping Stone. And Skipping Stone is a one-of-a-kind, nationally recognized agency that connects gender-diverse youth, adults, and families with comprehensive low-access barriers to the support that they both need and deserve. Skipping Stone is leading the way with its unique and innovative community-based and community-driven comprehensive care model. Skipping Stone's mental health programs are supported by RBC in Alberta. Skipping Stone has been a tremendous partner to us. They brought the youth panel at the last conference, and they bring us the youth panel today. We have two of the adults from Skipping Stone. I'm going to introduce them, and then they're going to introduce the youth. So Amelia hasn't come up to the stage yet. She's shy. So Amelia is a Sephardic Jewish trans woman who is a passionate educator and advocate. She is a co-founder of Skipping Stone, a nationally recognized agency that supports trans and gender diverse youth and families, and she has previously held positions as the president of the Trans Equality Society of Alberta and the director of community engagement with Calgary Pride, and as a faculty member with the World Professional Association for Transgender Health's Global Education Initiative. In 2018, she was awarded the Grand Heart Award in recognition of her contributions to advancing LGBTQ2+ human rights in Alberta. I think we owe her a hand. Our other adult representative from Skipping Stone is Parker. Parker, were you waved to everybody? Parker will be up front in a minute as well. Parker is a queer Asian trans man and a member of Skipping Stone's community team. Parker facilitates Mosaic Hearts, which is for racialized trans folks, offers intakes, gender gear appointments, peer support, and leads Skipping Stone's Trans Identity Clinic, and also helps with the Expressions program and is a peer mentor. Parker loves board games, video games, and nerding out with other gamers, as well as singing karaoke and playing instruments. So, welcome, Parker. Okay, so I'm now going to call Amelia up to the stage, and Amelia is going to introduce the youth and run the next section of the program. Come on up, Amelia.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I have the pleasure today of moderating a panel of these incredible youth who have traveled all the way from all different parts of sort of Alberta. And I'm so excited for them to share themselves with you. They are beautiful, incredible, tremendously resilient. I always say, like us, prairie queers are some of the most resilient folks that I know. Why? Because we have to be. So, yeah, I can't wait for them to share their experiences of challenge, but of resilience and of joy with you. To start, I'm going to introduce you folks to R, who's at the end of the table. R is 17 and uses he, him pronouns. R is a member of the Métis Nation of Alberta and is in grade 11, where he is part of his school's visual arts program. R lives with his parents and 3 cats and enjoys figure skating as a hobby. R also enjoys math and science and is interested in pursuing architecture after high school. And R is going to acknowledge and recognize the land we're on behalf of the group.
Yeah, so like was just mentioned, I'm a member of the Métis Nation of Alberta, and today we are speaking in Victoria on the traditional territories of the Songhees, the Iswémeth, and First Nations, as well as the Saanich people. We also acknowledge that Skipping Stone is based in Calgary on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, including the Siksika, the Piikani, and the Kainai. And we also acknowledge the Tsuut'ina and Stoney Nakoda First Nations, as well as the Métis Nation Region 3. We acknowledge and respect the Indigenous people who have been the stewards of our land for generations, as well as all people who make their homes on Turtle Island.
Thank you, R. The next person I want to introduce you to is Lou. Lou is 17 and uses they, them, and its pronouns. Lou is a non-binary person. Their family stems from Italy, England, and Ireland. It lives in Calgary, Alberta, with their parents, little brother, and cat named Bowie, and attends grade 11. They're interested in advocacy for those who face similar struggles to it, as well as learning more about the world, particularly animals and their habitats. Lou hopes to be involved in zoology or nature conservation in the future. And Lou, I was wondering if you could start by just sharing with us a moment of what trans joy looks like for you.
Thank you. For me, trans joy looks like being able to identify freely and flowing as just like being fully myself and being recognized as fully myself, not as someone that I have to mask myself to be. And I experienced this by being able to be open at school with who I am and being accepted by my peers and teachers. And I've worked really hard to get to this point, and I think that trans joy should be appreciated and experienced by everyone.
Thank you, Lou. Next, I want to introduce you to Emily. Emily uses she, they pronouns and is 15 years old. She is a trans, lesbian, biromantic demigirl and lives on Treaty 7 land. They're currently a grade 9 student and live with their parents and younger brother. She's interested in being involved with the 2S LGBTQIA+ community, as well as aviation, and is a Royal Canadian Air Cadet. Her dream is to be a pilot or a paramedic. And Emily, what does trans joy look like to you?
Trans joy for me looks like being able to be seen for who you are. That would include changing names, pronouns, and also just being able to access the kind of healthcare that you would need. So like hormone surgeries, even just psychology to be able to help you get through those kinds of things.
Thank you. And last, but certainly not least, is Devin. Devin's 15 years old and uses he, him, and they, them pronouns. Devin is a Moroccan Canadian whose father immigrated from Morocco and whose mother is a fifth-generation Canadian. He's a student in grade 9 in Hinton, Alberta, which is often referred to as the gateway to the Rockies. He lives with his parents, older brother, and his 4 birds, Grace, Bo, Brock, and Pharaoh. Devin is passionate about theater, music, and writing. His writing is driven by his want to make a change in our current world and hopes to one day have one of his own plays performed on stage. I think we owe Devin an extra special hand because traveling here for this conference was the first ever time that Devin's been on a plane. So they had their first experience. And then, of course, with their first experience being on a plane, flights were delayed for like over 2 hours and they lost Devin's suitcase. So maybe an extra little round of applause for Devin, please. And Devin, what does trans joy look like to you?
Trans joy for me is being able to finally look in a mirror and be happy with who I am. And it's almost like seeing my inner 5th grade me living the life that he always kind of wanted but didn't know how to get.
Yeah. Thank you. And R, do you want to kind of round us out with the same question?
Sure. So I'd say that trans joy to me is the absolute pride that I can feel in being trans, because being trans is such a cool concept, and the ability to feel that pride and joy in it is such a uniquely human thing, and I think that's the most amazing part about it to me.
Thank you. Yeah. So we had 3, when we were kind of talking or workshopping what the questions and what this presentation might look like. I think each of these amazing youth had an experience or a part of themselves that they really wanted to share. And I'll start, maybe we'll stay with you, R. And we had kind of talked about you just wanting to share or explain a little bit about the navigating and holding at the same time your trans identity as well as your sort of connection to your Indigenous identity, and what experiencing and holding both of those things is like for you.
Being able to be myself.
Feeling safe with people. It's nice to know that I'm not alone.
And there are other people like me.
You can talk to people without worrying about being judged. Putting in the effort to understand your experience and how it differs from their own, but how you share a lot of the same experiences,
Mm-hmm. There are people who could look up to me, and there are people I can share experiences with.
Being listened to, not even just being listened to, but being heard.
You don't have to put up a fake personality to fit in. You can just be yourself, and wholeheartedly you'll be accepted. No matter your name, your gender, your pronouns, how you appear, if you appear feminine, masculine, non-binary, whatever, you'll be accepted.
A personal, close connection with people, because it's more than just talking to someone in a comment section or something, or seeing videos of people or reading books. It's knowing a person and beyond just gender.
Community can help trans kids who may have had a bad experience understand that not everybody's going to be like that.
It's a nice community to have, and they're all super important to me.
community is to accept everybody, and so everybody can have a place where they belong and feel like they matter.
I think we had the really great opportunity yesterday when we were sort of in the room to be able to sort of see this room of amazing sort of community members who have done a ton, and we were able to, I think, have some conversations and introduce you folks to some trans elders and some folks who have done really incredible work. And so I wanted to ask, having had that experience, what is that connection to sort of history, to trans adults, to trans elders look like, feel like to you? And I was wondering if maybe we could start with Emily. It's okay.
Yeah, so trans adults are just an example of what's possible. So when you're going through transitioning, it's a very hard place that you're in. There's a lot, it takes a big mental toll and a big physical toll on your body, and trans adults just show like what's possible. They show that you can get through it and that you can be happy with how your body is.
And do you, yeah. Do you feel a connection to that sort of trans history that sort of has been behind you?
To some degree. I'm still about halfway through my transition. I've started with my legal name change and such. But yeah, I definitely do feel that connection because I definitely look up to a lot of trans women who have already transitioned, because right now it's hard with dysphoria and that kind of thing. So it's definitely good to see that I can get through it and that it's possible.
Devin, I'm wondering if you could share a bit about your experiences. 2 secs.
Okay. So my experience with trans adults is they've honestly been a huge role model for me. I've learned a lot about myself just through other people's experiences, and honestly, just knowing that there's a generation that maybe even struggled a little more because our world wasn't as accepting and it was almost new in a way, and just knowing that there's people that you can look up to, and just like Emily said, seeing that it's possible and knowing that like you can grow up to be a trans adult and have an impact on a youth when you are a trans adult.
Did you want to share, Lou? No. Ara, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, so I'd say that the other thing I think especially about meeting some of the trans adults and trans elders yesterday was it's this incredible connection between where we are right now and all the work that has had to happen in the past to get where we are. And when you actually get to meet the people who have worked so hard to be here, you get the sense that, you know, this is really an intergenerational effort. And I think I just have this immense pride at being able to be a part of that now.
I know we were all, the 5 of us, the 6 of us, were all lucky enough to be at the keynote last evening. And I'm wondering if any of the words or any of the things that were shared really resonated with you or really didn't resonate with you and your sort of experiences as trans youth.
For me, one of the things that stuck out to me the most was the idea that people can be marked or unmarked. Marked being the idea that you are stigmatized and that there is something different about you compared to everyone else. And that idea is just stuck out to me just because just the idea that you can sense when someone is marked or unmarked. And it's just the idea of being stigmatized because you are trans or non-binary or just any kind of marginalized group.
To add to what Emily said about the concept of being unmarked and marked, is that being marked, there's also the two sides. There's the advantage of being unique and different, but there's also the struggle of being unique and different, and trying to navigate that, I feel, was really interesting to learn.
Devin talked about a bit, but this idea of duality that really stood out to me, the idea that there are two different sides to how you can react to being marked, and that there is no wrong answer to how you react. There are amazing people who fight so hard against the stigma, and there are people who choose to sort of not fight it and just live. And honestly, I think the idea that that's not wrong, there is no wrong, is really, really cool.
For me, I think that the way that she was able to recognize the amount of double standards that we have even within our own community stood out a lot to me, because especially within the concept of marked and unmarked, there is a lot of stigma towards people who pass or people who are far enough in their transition that they feel that they're identified as cis by majority of people on the outside. But the fact that even within our own community, that those people will be just as attacked as people who are on the opposite end, of people who are very out and open about their identity and are, very maybe flamboyant or whimsical about how they want to present themselves. How we as a community still have that double standard of attacking each other, I think is really important to address, because on one hand, we do want to be accepted by cis people, but part of that is also working on accepting each other at no matter what we see each other as, we're still just trans people.
Are you okay if I ask the question? Are you okay if I ask the question? We talked about dress rehearsal. Okay. Lou was one of actually the amazing people we got to see yesterday. They asked sort of put their hand up right away and sort of asked a question in the sort of keynote, and we have only spent a little bit amount of time, but my heart was beaming with pride when you came over, and your question was about and talked a little bit about vocabulary and sort of how that looks intergenerationally. And I know you use they, them, and its pronouns. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what those pronouns mean to you. I know a lot of, we certainly see, I don't know if it's a reflection of the world, but we certainly see in Calgary a lot of folks, trans adults and some trans youth, have trouble kind of holding the truth and space for other people with how those pronouns maybe have harmed them. And I was wondering if you could use this opportunity to maybe, what would you say to folks who are maybe having trouble kind of navigating that?
I think the most important aspect to starting to understand is just realizing that the reason that I use its is because I'm reclaiming a part of my identity that has been used against me in the past. And I do acknowledge that dehumanization and and objectifying terms have been a really prevalent problem used against trans people and a lot of other marginalized groups in the past. And the way that I use them is to take back that part of my identity, because at times I do see myself as a bit less than human because my experience as being trans feels very like otherworldly at times, as for lack of a better word, just because it's like a very unique mental journey. And being able to reclaim those pronouns for myself and identify with them feels very empowering for me. And it's also very important for me to recognize that it does have negative connotations for other people. And I think just if you are apprehensive, it's okay. That's like a natural thing that we shouldn't deny, because it does have a traumatic past for people. And just making an open space for dialogue and talking about it, I think, is also incredibly important, because not talking about it will only increase the stigma and make it harder for people with that trauma to try to recover and feel like they're not being pushed away by people like me.
Wrapping up our sort of section about sort of connection to the past, I want to ask the four of you a question that I really want to know, and my guess would be that a number of the folks out there also really want to know, is, as trans adults, what can we be doing better to support you?
For me, I just noticed that to have trans adults better help trans youth would be to give support, because you have either gone through transition or are transitioning right now, and will better know the kinds of struggles that we have to deal with. So let's say with like pain or just mental, like the mental load that transitioning takes on you. Having already transitioned, you'd be a better help to talk with us, just because you know the pain and you know how bad it can get.
For me, the kind of most important part of support that can be given is having an open mind and just an open heart to especially younger folks who are experimenting with their gender identity and their sexuality and how they present themselves. Because it's pretty common nowadays that especially bigoted people will use trans youth, especially around the ages of like 11 to 13, who are experimenting with their identity as negative examples. And some of that stigma is also within our own community. It's very easy for us as humans to not understand something and therefore want it pushed away and not associated with us. Maybe because that's just like kind of human nature, is odd thing, don't want it. But I think having an open mind to know that that's not a forever thing. Like, we all have to go through awkward phases. That's a human experience. And the fact that transitioning is happening to younger people is a positive thing and not a negative thing. Yes, people transition at every stage of life. But I think just not being like in denial of trans youth who are in that really awkward phase is really important, and just understanding that their struggle is just as real as yours.
What do you think, Devin?
Like I said earlier, trans adults and elders have been a huge role model to me. Like I said, it's always been super helpful just to know that there's someone out there who has at some point in their life gone through the same struggles you have. And just honestly, I don't know if there is anything more that I can ask from trans elders and adults, because really I've had the opportunity to have a welcoming and open space to talk and share experiences from both the point of view of a trans youth and a trans adult, and just getting to feel supported was enough for me.
Do you have any sage last words for us, R?
Yeah, honestly, as Devin said, I think the absolutely most important thing that you can do for us is to let us see you being happy, and to see the success and the joy is the most amazing thing. And sometimes we're so stuck around people our own age who are trans, who are so important to us. But I think the most important thing to me is to see trans adults and trans elders as role models and see them be happy.
I loved all of their responses, and that I was laughing earlier, though I was wondering if it was going to come up when we were having conversations with Devin and Emily about like connection to like trans elders, to trans adults, what I could do for them. They started with an analogy where they said like, well, you are like a first generation iPhone, like you kind of, you kind of like were revolutionary when you first came out, but like we are the upgrade. So I said like for the rest of my life I will carry the, well, you're like the first generation iPhone. I think we're going to wrap up this kind of look back by seeing what our amazing youth artists had sort of put together. I want to have one note. We're painting little tiles through this, but one of our amazing sort of just incredible youth artist, Q, put together, took months and put together this beautiful sort of oil on canvas sort of painting that's featured. And so I wanted to give Q a special sort of shout out. And I think when you see that, you'll see why I'm giving them a special shout out. So yeah, we can go.
It's nice to hear other people's perspectives and what they go through, and who knows, maybe I might connect to someone because we had a similar experience and I can like learn from them. It can kind of like help me understand more. I can grasp like a deeper meaning.
I mean, like getting to see a trans masc person who's older than me and who has like gone through a lot of the stuff that I have and all of that stuff is like really nice to see, because I only see people my age or younger.
I can ask them questions like, how did you know you were trans? How was your experience like? What does being trans mean to you? Stand up for people.
I really like it when like adults just kind of don't judge me for wearing weird clothes.
Be a community and let people know that the community is available and they're not going to be pushed away. Help educate people.
Education of those who aren't trans.
Educate others who aren't in the community. Kids could be educated.
Education, you know. It needs people to speak out, you know, to not give up on this stuff, to not just say, this is the way the world is, this is the way stuff is gonna be. Yeah. Like continuing to fight for these protections, continuing to advocate in your daily life. and supporting each other to make sure that there are still people around to see the change we make.
We kind of want to round out today and then make sure that there's lots of time for questions, but kind of want to round out looking forward. And because, I don't know, for a lack of a better reason, because I'm an idealist, I want to ask a really kind of like open-minded question and really encourage you folks to like say whatever comes into your mind. If you woke up tomorrow and we lived in a world where there wasn't transphobia and there was nothing but inclusion, what would that world look like to you?
For me, it would look like trans people being not have to be stigmatized, not have to be excluded from anything. We would just be as much people as everybody else. And it would not have to be a special thing. It would not have to be something that we have to look down upon. It would not have to be something that is weird or odd or that we have to study anymore, but it could just be fully integrated into society and understood and accepted.
For me, having a fully inclusive world would include not having to have parental permission to be able to change names, both legally and within the school system. Being able to change your gender marker so that you don't have to be barred from any kinds of sports or bathrooms or anything like that. And also to have everyone being fully supportive, not being attacked or just having respect just automatically be placed on you.
If I were to wake up in a world where basically everything, we were all included, I think, first of all, it'd be amazing. But I think it would be a world where there's more access to gender-affirming care, whether that's mental or physical, and just being in a place where it doesn't matter and we can just be who we are without judgment, and it's not a, as Lou said, odd thing or weird thing to be trans, and it's just another thing like being left-handed. It's just something that we incorporate into society as just another thing that is different but accepted and isn't seen as a standalone, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty much echoing what we've heard a lot during this conference and what everyone else has said, but a world where trans is unimportant, where it is just part of who you are, where it happens and then you can move on, where trans is normal, I think is the big thing that I would love to see in that ideal world.
We talked a little bit about maybe what trans adults and trans elders in the community can do, but I'm wondering if moving towards that world that we just talked about, if there's anything we can do as a broader community, transgender, cisgender folks, to be able to sort of move towards that direction. What do you, I know there's a million things, but what are the things on the top of your list? What are some of the really impactful things you want to see?
I think, first of all, decriminalization in everywhere would be nice. Just like, I think that's the very start. Just having everyone, including countries that have progressed beyond that stage, be at that same base level and be able to tackle the places that haven't got to I guess, a good point of acceptance. I don't think anywhere in the world has completely, like, a perfect level of acceptance. But if we can just start with the base level of being, like, trans, not being illegal, that would be good.
Having access to gender-neutral bathrooms anywhere you go. Like in Hinton, where the closest gender-neutral bathroom is in Edmonton. It'd be good to have gender-neutral bathrooms anywhere you go. So, in like small towns, gas stations, those kinds of things. Just so that everyone feels comfortable where they, like, everyone feels comfortable going into the bathrooms, that kind of thing.
Another thing that I feel just like, I feel like this has been said a lot during our conversation, but just like having a safe space or a safe person. I know that like I'm a safe person to one of a younger trans person, and they've come to me about several different situations, and I feel most of the change that I try to make is so that a future generation, no matter how long it takes, hopefully sooner rather than later, gets to experience life as just it not mattering.
I think the thing that we can all do is, Devin mentioned the importance of having a safe space or a safe person. The important thing that we can do is be a safe person. Be someone that you don't have to be an amazing support system on your own, but be a person who doesn't judge. Be a person who listens, and then maybe you can't help, but maybe you can direct them to someone who can. I think if we can start to make every person at least safe to hold the knowledge of someone being trans, that to know that no matter who you talk to, you're going to be safe talking to them, I think is the most important first step that we can take.
I love this panel. I love these four youth and so many more so much. Just what you talked about, and the part that excites me so much is like in everything you share, it's personal, it's community, it's like citywide, province, national, and international. Like you're just looking at things from so many perspectives. I really feel like this generation of like trans youth are so incredible and are really going to change the world. I often think in my head, we just have to like make sure we don't screw it up until you all turn 18 and can take over the world. I have one last question for you folks, and then we're going to watch the sort of closing video and then pass it over to Erin, who will take Q&A from the audience here and virtually. And that question is there anything, when we look back at that kind of like idealistic world, is there anything that gives you hope that we're moving towards that?
The recent introduction of the C-16 bill, the ability to change your gender marker to X if you're non-binary or don't conform to any of the gender standards. And as well as, this was a while back, but the legalization of same-sex marriage for lesbian and gay couples. And that's what gives me hope that we're going towards a more inclusive future.
I think something that gives me hope that we're going to a more inclusive future is, like Emily said, being able to put X on your gender marker if you are non-binary or otherwise gender diverse. And I think just the fact that we now, I know a few people who include non-binary into the gender binary, even though honestly, there really is no gender binary when we think of it. But just having that inclusion, I feel we're working towards a better future and hopefully more accepting.
I think the biggest indicator to me is that transphobia is not okay, that we don't see it as okay. And even though there are so many people who still think that way, the fact that in general we know that that's not okay tells me that we know what's right and that we're at least trying to tackle it, even if we haven't quite gotten there yet. I think that's the biggest indicator to me, is the people who realize that even if they don't understand it, even if lots of people don't like it, they realize that it's still discrimination and that is wrong.
For me, I think it's the fact that trans elders exist. Like, that gives me a lot of hope, because just like kind of what we talked about earlier, just the fact that there is light at the end of the tunnel for us, that like there is an opportunity to like live to the point that all of you have lived. And it just, I think, like recognizing the fact that I myself can get to that point makes me very hopeful, because there have been times where I haven't felt that way, and I know that it's a prevalent thought for a lot of other people, but the fact that older trans people do exist gives me a lot of hope.
And I'm wondering if we could see what our trans youth artists, what their sort of world free of sort of transphobia, or their sort of idyllic inclusive world looks like.
Equal treatment, like support, so I won't need to worry about going outside and being yelled at while I'm walking to school.
In schools, there would be pride flags, there would be representation, there would be guest speakers coming in to talk about their experience and how it was like for them.
I would go to school and not be scared. I wouldn't feel like I wanted to go talk to the school counselor every single day.
Happy.
Very, very, very much.
I would have been able to get on tea and stuff a lot faster. I would have been able to do everything I needed faster, to get the help I needed faster. And it'll help other people to get the help they need before they get to a point where it's like, where they just don't feel like trying anymore.
For like coming into a new year, they would have like a circle meeting and you would go around and you'd say your name and pronouns, and then it would be an inclusive space for everybody.
Having those concrete protections in place, being able to go out and feel safe, be able to be me a lot more.
I think a perfect world where trans kids were accepted would be a world where everybody could just be themselves and they didn't have to hide it and they didn't have to worry about what other people thought or what they would say. I would love to live in a world like that. And honestly, just talking about it makes me want to cry, because I really wish the world was like that.
I think the thing that really stuck out for me, and want to kind of then offer over to these amazing folks for last thoughts, is this was a group of like 20 youth between like the ages of like 5 and 18, and they were asked, what would a perfect, hypothetical perfect world look like for you? And like, it was so heartbreaking. For the things they came back and illustrated are so small, like, and what they were asking for in so many ways is so simple. And yeah, it was just, I don't know, I was just sort of, yeah, I'm not gonna cry, but what do any of you kind of have response to that, or a sort of parting thought to leave us with before we go into questions?
I feel kind of like mixed emotions because on one side, it is really saddening that we have to lower our expectations to such a simple standard for it to be perfect, and also that it feels enlightening, the fact that people so young are able to speak so eloquently to what is ideal for them, and that just they're able to express so clearly what they want. I think that is really unique and takes a lot of courage, which I feel very proud of.
I think something that resonated with me was one of the kids had mentioned just being scared all the time and always needing somebody to talk to. And I just think that resonated so much with me because I kind of used to be that way and am still to a degree. And honestly, I wish that there was a way that we could alleviate just the fear of being who we are.
And the fact that kids as young as 5 years old are able to actually speak their mind like that is a good sign that we're moving forward with inclusivity and that they will grow up to be amazing trans activists.
I know, Lou, you'd said it's kind of sad to see that the things that we want, that they want, are so simple, but at the same time, I think in a world where there is no transphobia, maybe there aren't big things that needed to be fixed in a perfect world like that. Maybe the only things that we need are the small things when there is nothing else in the way.
I couldn't think of a more beautiful note to sort of wrap up on. Thank you so much to the four of you. Before we sort of turn over to Erin, who's going to lead us through some Q&A, I just want to say, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, from everyone like at Skipping Stone, and I won't speak for everyone here, but I think I might not be wrong in saying for a lot of the people in this room, not only has it been a pleasure to listen to you, but honestly, your perspectives, your time, your generosity in sharing yourselves with us is a gift and it's an honor. And I know that you folks as trans youth should actually just be focused on being out there and thriving and living your best life and not always kind of, coming into spaces and talking about the challenges that you experience and the things we can do. And so I do just want you to know how much I think so many of us here really recognize your time and your voices as something that's immensely, immensely precious. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of all of us for everything you've shared.
We have a treat of a short video from the Six Below Band and Choir, and it's a 2S LGBTQIA+ community-focused youth choir and band who perform songs that empower and affirm trans and gender diverse folks. They have performed throughout, Mohkinstsis, is that how you say it? Which is also known as Calgary, Alberta, at various events since the 2021, including the Calgary Pride Festival. The Six Below Ensemble is part of Stepping Stone and Anna Cruz's Queer Music Festival, which builds community, connection, and confidence in queer and trans youth between the ages of 5 and 18.
I don't
thank you, Parker, Amelia, Devin, Lou, R, and Emily. And I've got some gift bags over here I'm going to distribute around to everybody, and I want to also very much say thank you to the parents who make it possible for you kids to thrive the way you do and to be the beautiful people that you are.